What's up guys? The other day I was looking at this painting. It's called The Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog by Caspar David Friedrich. And I got to thinking, can you make something like this in Blender? Well, let's find out. Since most of the character mesh wasn't going to be visible to the camera anyway, I used this free open source program called MakeHuman to automatically generate a character mesh. This thing's surprisingly powerful and actually comes in really handy for stuff like this. There's some sliders that you can alter to change things like race, age, gender, and basically the look of the character. You just play with those sliders until you dial in the exact look you want. Once you're happy with the model, there's a series of textures to choose from. I just went for this middle-aged white dude option. With the texture on the model, I moved over to the rigging tab and I just applied one of the basic rigs. Once you've automatically rigged your character, you can choose from some of these predefined poses. Since I knew I was going to be adding clothes to this guy, I went for the T-pose because it would make modelling the clothes easier. MakeHuman has this really handy add-on for Blender, which I'll link in the description. If you click Accept Connections on the Community tab inside MakeHuman, you can move the character straight over to Blender and you don't have to save it or export or anything like that, it just moves over automatically. So once you're inside Blender, you just have to click N and then you can see the options for the MakeHuman add-on. If you select Import Human with MakeHuman open in the background, it'll automatically import the mesh you just made. As you can see, it imports the rig and the textures and everything else with the model. Right now, the rig is a little bit useless. We've got this Stretch Armstrong thing going on where we move one bone and it kind of just moves by itself. If you select IK rig from the settings, the bones will now move like they should, like they're connected. You can play with the material properties in the node group. I just left all those settings on default. The only thing I did is I quickly pressed tab to open up the node group and I connected the base colour of the texture into the subsurface input, just to add a little bit of subsurface scattering to the skin. Subsurface scattering is basically when light bounces inside a semi-translucent material like skin. Skin looks really lifeless without any SSS, but too much of it will make your skin look kind of waxy, so you need to proceed with caution. Now our dickless guy is looking pretty good, but he needs some clothes. I just copied parts of the base mesh over to make the clothing and separated them into their own object. I went into the sculpting tools and I used the inflate brush just to pull the jacket a little bit away from the character so now it would be over his body instead of on it. Then I manually cleaned up the topology a little bit and I just added some geometry to the bottom of the jacket to make it look similar to the one in the painting. The rest of the clothing was made in the same basic way, just by copying parts of the base mesh, making it its own model and then inflating it slightly with the sculpting tools. I added a collision modifier onto the base mesh and I gave the clothing a cloth simulation. I moved the timeline along about a second or two, and then I just moved the mesh with the pose mode so it would be aligned roughly with the character in the painting. Then I went back, added a cloth simulation, and it worked surprisingly well. I expected the hair and the clothing in this render to be the hardest parts, since I've basically got no experience with either of those things, but the hair and the clothes actually turned out to be some of the easiest stuff. I modelled a bunch of really crude rocks and I just used the sculpting tools to clean them up a little bit. I gave them the quickest, dirtiest UV unwrap you've ever seen, slapped a texture on them and called it a day. I did also use a displacement modifier on the rocks to give them some extra geometry, but I actually ended up removing that later on. It wasn't really improving the scene at all, and all those high poly rocks were really killing my computer. So at this point I've spent God knows how many hours working on this render when suddenly I realised I have a big problem. This is a large outdoor scene with loads of volumetric fog, and that's not really something Blender can do very well. Let me explain. When you're making a big outdoor scene, ideally you need a single big light source that will act like the sun, either a sun lamp or a HDRI background. You want to know what happens when you use a HDRI or a sun lamp with world volumetrics in Blender? It looks like this. Everything goes completely black. Volumetrics are calculated based on the position of the light source. HDRIs and sun lamps don't have a position for the lamp source. They're basically infinitely far away and infinitely strong. so they don't work. I couldn't just use point lamps either if I was wanting to use volumetrics, because that would create obvious hotspots wherever I was adding a light. So I had to scrap that idea and try some completely different methods. So the first method that I came up with was to use the mist pass. The mist pass is basically just a gradient that you can use inside the compositor to add in some fake atmospheric perspective. It's a little bit quick and dirty, but it actually works surprisingly well. You enable it in the Render Pass tab. If you switch over to the rendered view in the viewport, you can also preview the mist pass before you even render, and then you can just fine tune in the settings. Just add a mix node into the compositor, select a colour that's kind of similar to your sky, and then use the mist pass as the factor. You can also add a colour ramp in and use that on the factor to get some finer control over exactly where the mist is going to go and how thick it's going to be. At this point I still needed a solution for all that thicker fog that's kind of on the floor, but I decided just to move on and tackle other problems. I'll worry about that later. So in the foreground we're going to need some grass. Making grass in Blender is super simple if you've never done it before. You just start with a plane, stretch it out, add a few loop cuts and make it kind of into the shape of a blade of grass. Copy the geometry around a few times in edit mode, and then position those copies so they look like kind of a clump of grass using some proportional editing. Make a few of these, add them to one group, call it grass. Use the hair particle system to distribute the copies of that group all over the mesh, and you've got yourself some grass. You can also make a vertex group for your grass using the weight painting tools, and you can use that group to control the density of the grass. Now it's simply a case of just painting on the areas where you want the grass to appear. In this case I just painted around the rocks. So with the foreground elements done, it was time to tackle that layer of cloud again. To make this, I just took a plane, added a few subdivisions and extruded it down. Then I stuck a displacement modifier on it which made it look a little bit wavy. For the material I used a principal volume node and I controlled the density of that with a noise texture. That looked like some kind of crappy cloud. It wasn't great, but I knew that the mist pass we made earlier was going to cover most of its sins anyway, so I wasn't too worried. One of the rock formations in the foreground has some trees growing on it. I knew I wanted that in the final render. There's no need for any high poly trees here. I just took a picture of a tree that has a transparency layer and I stuck it on a plane. With a little bit of transmission value and some bump, I think it looks like a pretty damn good looking asset considering it's got hardly any polygons. I set the origin of the plane to be the bottom so that I could quickly just scale them all up and they would each look a little bit different. I almost hit render at this point before I realised that this fella doesn't have any hair. I copied over the base mesh again around the scalp and then I used a hair particle system on that. Make sure you hide the emitter in the render settings, but apart from that you basically just play around with the particle settings until you get some hair that looks good for you. If you go into the particle edit mode, you can trim the hair, add length, puff it out, comb it, and do all sorts of other things to style the hairdo. If you don't want to make the hair like that, you can also use hair dynamics if you want, which is basically like a hair simulation. For the hair material, I just used the standard principal hair shader. It looks pretty good on its own, but I used the facing value of a layer weight node to mix that hair colour with a slightly different shade. It made it look a little bit more like the original painting, but I didn't have to do that. With the final step done, I hit render. I created two passes for this piece. There was one for the foreground and one for the background. In Photoshop, I used one of these default brushes just to add some extra fog, mostly just to cover up the seams where the rocks suddenly end. It was a much easier way of doing it than trying to figure out how to do this in Blender. I also added a little bit of atmospheric perspective on those mountains in the background. Finally, I just did a little bit of colour correction, playing around with some of the tones until I got something I was happy with. So here's the original painting, and here is my version. And finally, because people complain if I don't include this, here's a side-by-side comparison with the old one and the new one. The blend file for this scene, like always, will be made available on my Patreon account to all of my followers. If you don't follow my Patreon already, you might want to check out the link in the description. No. Oh, it's crashed again. Has it? It's crashed. Oh, Blender, why you do this? This program's all... Why can I never talk? Like, what is it? What is it about recording audio that suddenly I become a moron? Finally, that was a good one.